What's up, friends? Welcome in to Rock Chalk Sports here on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com. With Dan Courtwright, I'm Sean Kellerman. Getting our week started, we're talking KU football. Lost one in Lubbock late Saturday night. We'll break that down here in the opening segment. Then we'll hear from a trio of Jayhawks next segment, Jalon Daniels, Boden Groen, and Taylor Davis. Then we're going to get the insights of Kevin Flaherty. Kevin's going to join us via Zoom. Great reporter for Kansas City Sports Network, always has fantastic insights. He knows about this year's team, he knows about next year's team and the year after team. He's got all sorts of coverage of KU football, so make sure you're tuned in when Kevin Flaherty joins the show here in about 40 minutes. After that, Dan, we've got our Case of the Mondays segment.
That's
right.
And
it's going to be highlighted by a guy who has been in the dumps for 2 or 3 weeks, a guy whose program was in the top 5 in the preseason, and
Steve Sarkisian.
Things went from bad to worse from a program standpoint, but he's going to be making out okay, I think, despite losing his job.
He'll be fine. James Franklin, in case you weren't, you didn't catch up on that, fired Kicked to the curb. Man, the best job in history is
being
a fired head coach.
Being a fired coach. It really
fired
is.
Head coach.
I know. We'll break that down for you.
Talk about like in this is a different sport, but like Greg Marshall, like he's getting paid right now by Wichita State just to go golfing all day.
And that's the thing, is these guys just disappear into the abyss.
I would too.
Right? I know. I know. It's
too.
just like you just curl up and you just kind of keep collecting that paycheck.
Are we still paying Les Miles? I don't know. That's probably a sore subject, but sure,
I don't know at this point what former coaches are still getting paid. But yeah, it happens across the country, and yeah, Penn State, they're taking the brunt of this as they're going to be paying James Franklin. We're going to have all sorts of information regarding that and everything else in the world of sports over the weekend in our Case of the Mondays segment. We'll hear from Coach Leipold post-game. Obviously, some interesting comments that we'll get to, Dan, regarding the throwing of objects from Texas Tech fans. More on that here shortly. And then we'll close out the show today recapping other important action in college football from Week 7. We'll mention the Chiefs. That was a fun one and a good end to the weekend last night. I do love when Chiefs play on Sunday Night Football. It's just a nice, something to look forward to.
Great.
You don't have the Sunday scaries as much until
exactly.
triple zeros.
Yeah. I spent my whole Sunday. I had and you're gonna make fun because I talk trash on it.
You had to go to Shawnee to get a dresser.
No, I had Red Zone on.
Of course.
And I know how much I say that blah blah blah. I don't like Red Zone. It's TikTokification, which is true.
Scott Hansen's your boy though. He's all of our boys.
I did have Red Zone on because I didn't want to. I was like, all right, well, whatever. I'll just throw it on. And I got some chores done. My fiance, she's out of town right now. She's in Wyoming actually.
Really?
So I got some stuff done.
So she's just touring all the states.
Yes. I was. Yeah. So it was just me and my dogs just batching it up.
I was available.
It was great.
Just throwing that out there. You could have come and played in my backyard. My daughter and I were running around. It was adorable.
Ooh, yeah, it was so busy.
I'm sure. Hey, we'll mention the Chiefs like we talked about. A good end to the weekend. We'll dive deeper into that one on tomorrow's show. But certainly want to give Brian Branch his due.
Yes.
Maybe he just wanted his name to be said today on sports talk shows across the country, because there you go. He got that taken care of. ALCS and NLCS in the Major League Baseball playoffs as well. The Big Dumper makes an immediate appearance. Plus, Monday Night Football game picks. Daniel, we got 2 football games on tonight, so we'll give some game picks on that front. All right, let's get into this. KU loses at Texas Tech 42-17. Hawks are 4-3, 2-2 in conference play. I think more than anything for me, walking out of that game, my thinking is, all right, Tech's even better than I thought they were.
Yeah.
This Texas Tech team, I think, is national championship caliber. They're that good. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of the game. It was a game of runs. Tech scored the first 21. KU scored the next 17. And then Tech scored the final 21. So that's how you end up with 42-17. Some good resolve shown by KU to come back. The 21-0 score, honestly, was a score we've seen a lot, particularly before Coach Leipold got here, when KU goes out on the road and it's over before it starts, right?
Yeah.
But this was not the case.
That was a huge swing, within a couple of minutes. All of a sudden you're like, oh my God, it's 14-0. Oh my God, it's 21-0.
A lot of bad things happened. But KU did show some resiliency. Will Hammond, the backup quarterback for Tech, who came in for Baron Morton, who was injured, he definitely, after a shaky start, proved why he's honestly one of the better quarterbacks in the country in regards to PFF.
Yeah.
He is, for somebody who's taken 100 snaps. So good on Will Hammond. He shook off a rough start. But for this one, Tech, they've got a lot of guys, and those guys were dudes in that one. And KU now, path forward, knowing that it looks less likely you're going to win the Big 12 or get a chance to play for the Big 12 championship. It still could happen, but now you got to focus on the next two games where you have K-State at home, Oklahoma State at home. You win those and you're bowl eligible. We'll talk more on that, but first, Dan, your reaction from KU's loss on Saturday night and what stuck out to you?
I say this almost every time after a loss. I say, I want to look at the positives. And I do, because I actually think that there are some positives to pull out of this. There are a ton of negatives, for sure. But I think that you have to look at the circumstances of what this game actually was. You're going up against a Texas Tech team who has the ability to buy the best players in the nation. And that was made abundantly clear, right? Kansas does not have that amount of resources to be able to do that. They have to develop from within. With Texas Tech, they got a bunch of money. They bought a lot of guys on that front line, and they absolutely killed that Kansas offensive line. But I want to talk about some positives. First, we'll get into the negatives. Jalon Daniels played a virtually perfect game. 27 of 33, 255, 2 touchdowns. Jalon looked good. The concern is Jalon played a virtually perfect game and Kansas still lost 42-17. That tells you on the defensive side of the ball, there are some issues. On the offensive line, there are some issues. Kansas was completely outmanned in every facet of this game because Texas Tech is just bigger and stronger and faster than Kansas was. It's not Calvin Clemens' fault or anybody on the offensive line or the defensive line for that matter. It's not their fault. They were just overpowered, oversized, overmatched. It was virtually, just in terms of size, in terms of talent, Texas Tech was a much better team. Now, I believe that Kansas has very good players on both sides of the ball, but I think they got a little overwhelmed at times, right? I mean, we saw Cameron Dickey go absolutely unbelievable, 264 on the ground with 2 long touchdowns. He had an incredible game, and that offensive line for Texas Tech was just, parting the Red Sea, basically. Cameron Dickey was able to fly through there. Again, wanted to talk about some positives. I liked what I saw out of the secondary. I thought they did a really good job in terms of tampering down their passing attack, right? They only had 133 yards through the air on 14 receptions. Baron Morton did not have a good game through the air or on the ground. Now, Baron Morton did wind up going out with an injury. Will Hammond came in, and again, like you said, a rough start for Will Hammond, but then he started doing it on his legs. So the concern isn't through the air, because I thought the secondary played a really good game, right? I thought in terms of coverage, I think Jalen Todd had an excellent game. I thought Taylor Davis had an excellent game. He had his first interception of his career. The issue is on the ground. And also, Tech didn't have to throw the ball a whole hell of a lot because they were working the ground game so much. They had 385 yards on the ground. That's the first time that that's happened, at least since 2000 for Texas Tech. They said that they were still going through the microfiches in the libraries trying to find anything else where they had 385 on the ground. But at least since 2000, that's the first time that that's happened. So there is a level of concern there in terms of allowing those big runs. So I started leaning into the negatives. I wanted to go to the positives. Like you said, Kansas was able to come back in this game in that second quarter. 17 unanswered points was one of the more valiant efforts I've seen out of this Kansas squad in a long time, because you saw the way that game started. 21-0 on a couple of big swings for Texas Tech. Very unfortunate, and you thought, man, this game can get out of hand fast. And it was. And Kansas was able to come out in the second quarter, which they're not historically good at. Kansas is good in the first and third quarter. They're good at coming out of the locker room and having a game plan. They're usually not good at all in the second and fourth quarter. This second quarter was the best second quarter, I think, of maybe the Leipold era. Being able to come back, work the field, get in the end zone a couple times, stop Tech, most importantly. All of a sudden, it's 21-17 going into halftime. And you're thinking, man, this is a ball game. But then everything kind of changed, right? Will Hammond was able to kind of catch his bearings, really make an impact. Cam Dickey had a couple of long runs, and then all of a sudden, just the defensive front for Texas Tech was just completely wearing down the offensive line of Kansas, and they were getting some big hits, and the offensive line was wearing down the defensive line. I wanted this to be the defensive line for Kansas. I wanted this to be their best game, and it certainly wasn't, because they were not able to stop the run game whatsoever. So all in all, there are some good things you can pull out of this, right? And it's hard to say that after a 42-17 loss. There are some good things. I think there are some things you can look at potentially for the future as well, because there were some young guys out there making some plays too.
The stat in this one for anybody who looks and maybe even sees Jalon Daniels' stats or wonders why Tech won by 25, 9 sacks.
Yes.
Tech had 9 sacks, 8 on Jalon Daniels. You talked about how JD was nearly perfect, 27 of 33, 255 and 2. Given the fact that he was sacked 8 times, I mean, have you ever seen a quarterback play that well when he's being brought down time after time after time? And this was a concern. They've got David Bailey.
That was the thing.
David Bailey with 3 sacks, Romello Height with 2. Again, they combine with 9. Those are guys that we talked about last week. We talked about this Texas Tech front 6, front 7, whatever package it is. Doesn't matter. Tech has guys at every spot. The interior, the outside. We knew that there was a realistic chance that this is how this game went, right?
Yeah.
And that's not a stab at our offensive line. It's just those guys are going to be playing on Sundays, and they were able to pretty much establish dominance on that side. You started the game terribly defensively for Kansas because you gave up the 71-yard touchdown run. Second half, Dickey gets a 55-yard touchdown run. He looked like Cam Scadaboo out there, honestly, with the quads and just kind of the size, very similar. But after the 71-yard touchdown run, KU does go to that package that we talked about they might, and they put in Cole Ballard. It was a good run. He got 11 yards,
fumbled,
lost the football, though, and then Tech scored again, 2-point conversion. It's 15-0. 2 more field goals, 21-0.
By the way, after that 2-point conversion, were you thinking like, oh, my gosh, like this, like, come on.
21-0. Yeah, like I said earlier, it was a situation where we've been in this situation for Kansas football in the past against a good Big 12 team on the road, and you're done. You're not going to have a chance. But KU showed a lot of resiliency. You got a JD touchdown pass to Leipold to make it 21-7, a JD touchdown pass to Boden Groen to make it 21-14, and then Money Marjan comes out, 55-yard field goal, career high, to make it 21-17.
Yeah.
That was a huge momentum for Kansas. You could see Coach Leipold clapping his hands going into the break. You're thinking, hey, we may actually win this thing, especially since in between KU scoring those 17 second quarter points, Texas Tech lost Baron Morton with that right ankle injury, and Will Hammond came in and wasn't any good.
Yeah.
Second half, though, again, got to credit the redshirt freshman. He came out and he looked like a different player. He was getting more entrenched in the game by utilizing his legs, and he ends up running for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns himself. Nothing was done through the air. We mentioned the secondary against Kansas combined, the 2 quarterbacks, Morton and Hammond, 14 of 28, 133 and a touchdown. But Dickey runs for 263 and a pair of TDs. Hammond gets 2 rushing touchdowns as well. He's going to be a really good player at Texas Tech, and we'll see what the outlook is on Baron Morton moving forward. But the point is, KU was unable to do anything against Hammond in the second half, and then against that Texas Tech defense that prior to this game had never given up more than 14 points this season. KU gets blanked in the second half, as the Jayhawks D did to UCF last week, and it was what it was, right? So I think one thing that you take away as a Kansas fan is, yeah, it sucks. You wanted to win. You wanted to be 5-2, 3-1, and focused on what needs to happen for a Big 12 championship. That can still happen, but what you need to focus on is that's the best team Kansas is going to play.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just no question about it. Tech is the best team, and we'll look at the schedule and we'll say, you know, we got 2 home games, and then after that, final 3 games are against good teams. It's Arizona, Iowa State, and Utah. Those teams aren't as good as Texas Tech, and we're going to match up with those teams better than we're matching up with Texas Tech. I don't know who's going to beat Texas Tech this year. They'll probably lose, maybe, at some point. But they looked really good. They're full of next-level talent.
You said it there. That is a national championship caliber team.
Absolutely. And, you know, they are proving to be a fantastic team. And, you know, we can talk about the tortilla stuff later. But bottom line is good on Tech. KU's just got to get past this one. Now you have a bye week, which again comes after a loss, as the first one did when KU lost on the road. So you've got, you don't even want to say an extra week to prepare because K-State also has that extra week, but you've got 2 weeks to prepare for the Dillon Sunflower Showdown. K-State comes in, and then you have Oklahoma State. I kind of go back to why UCF winning that game was so big for Kansas.
Yeah.
Because now you can look at your schedule and say, okay, we have 2 games at home. Let's win those 2 games. There we get to 6. And then we're not going to act like we're not going to take this show on the road, right?
Yeah.
You think we can't beat Arizona? We can't beat Iowa State? That's not true. And certainly KU can beat Utah at home to close out the regular season as well. So there's a path forward. It wasn't fun Saturday. Going to be a massive game a couple Saturdays from now. But yeah, credit Tech and KU. Again, you got to look at that as facing the best team that you're facing all year. Yes, there's ways that the Jayhawks need to improve. Got to protect better no matter who's on the other side, and certainly can't give up the massive plays defensively. But yeah, Tech proved why they're so good.
Yeah, I mean, look, the world is not ending, right? I mean, you look at this and you go, okay, well, that was a really damn good team in Texas Tech, and Kansas played a good second quarter. Now, third down conversions, fourth down conversions, not good whatsoever from Kansas. But also, like I said, there are some positives coming out of this. And then you look ahead on the schedule and you go, man, you got to win 2. All you got to do is got to win 2, go to a bowl game, and you feel really, really good about that. Like I said, I didn't even mention the Lath Marjan kick. You mentioned it, 55 yards. My goodness. That was good from 61, I bet, right? That's going to grab the attention of some NFL guys. But I want to look at the defense just for a second, because if you look down the line, right, Lyric Rawls, Jalen Todd, and Austin Alexander are your top 3 tacklers for the University of Kansas against Texas Tech. If you have your top 3 tacklers all being in the secondary, that's not good, especially when they did not have a lot of passes through the air, right? The majority of their plays were on the ground. So if you have guys in your secondary getting the most of those tackles, now granted, Lyric Rawls was getting up there into the run fits. I thought he did an excellent job, right? Him and Cameron Dickey were going at it there for a little bit in the third quarter. But at the same time, you got to have a better showing from your defensive line and your linebacker crew. Bengali Kamara had a good game, right? He had a couple of, or I think he had maybe 1 sack, or he had 3 tackles for a loss. I know that. So Bengali Kamara had an excellent game, but at the same time, like, the linebackers and the defensive front were just not good whatsoever. Also, Boden Groen, talk about a guy who's really been able to step up ever since the injury to Deshaun Hanukkah, which obviously sucks. He's going to be out for the rest of the season, and hopefully he's able to, get better for pro day, because I want him to continue into football because he is a really good tight end. But Boden Groen being able to step up 13 receptions, tied for 3rd most in Kansas history. I mean, really impressive stuff from him. 76 yards and a touchdown. He's becoming a really reliable piece to this, right? Cam Pickett as well. He had 82 yards. He had a 26-yard reception on 6 receptions. So, I mean, you have confidence in the skill position players, right? You have confidence in your weapons. You have confidence in JD. You have confidence in your secondary. The thing that stood out about this is the trenches. Kansas absolutely lost the battle in the trenches, and that is the reason the score is what it was.
And it's not shocking that happened.
No, of course not.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, KU's offensive
all
line.
week about their defensive line.
Yeah, KU's offensive line has been solid, and we're not going to go into more detail, but I mean, Tech had 9 sacks. It just was one of those games. I mean, there's a world where if this game is played 10 times, maybe 1 or 2 of those games Tech only gets 3 sacks, right? But they were doing what they were doing, and not just KU's offensive line generally being good at protecting, but Jalon Daniels is usually so elusive, and there just was nowhere to run against that Tech defensive front. So that was the problem on that side. And on the flip side, like you said, only 1 sack for KU. Leroy Harris had a takedown. All those guys we talked about needing to step up and heat up the quarterback. They weren't as much of a factor as we needed them to be, but more so it was the front 7 against the running game of Texas Tech, highlighted, of course, by Cameron Dickey with his 263 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now moving forward, again, we've got these 2 games at home. K-State, they're feeling good about themselves. I'm glad that they won against TCU. I just, 41-28, it was a nice victory. They're feeling better. KU still has to feel all right. I'm fine with that. I don't care. Uh, if they lost that game, then it really was, hey, our entire season is dependent on this. And
Sure.
their season certainly still is dependent on this game, and you could say that for KU as well. But K-State has 2 really winnable games after the Kansas game, so they're trying to get to that 6-win mark too. So they're thinking, okay, we got to have this game as well. KU's going to have the same mindset, and I just like that it's kind of an eye-opener from the KU side of things that, hey, this is still a really good program. They've got good players, and like I said, no extra advantage for either team since both teams have a bye. But yeah, that's coming up 2 Saturdays from now, October 25th at the booth, and that atmosphere is going to be as good as they come.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I guess, yeah, to your point, this makes it a little less of a Super Bowl for Kansas State. Right. Because if you look at Kansas State and you go, oh, well, our season is completely in the trash. The only thing that could make this any kind of a good season is if they beat Kansas. Now it's a little less than that, right? K-State is also looking for a bowl game as well. So is KU, but also it's going to be in the new booth. I don't think Avery Johnson's been very good this year. He looked okay against TCU. And, TCU's a good program too, right? Josh Hoover's he's a good quarterback. I mean, they're not at the top tier of the Big 12, obviously, but at the same time, TCU's nothing to scoff at. So it will be interesting to see. Again, I think it's KU is K-State's biggest rival. So I think that no matter what, it's still going to be their Super Bowl. It's still going to be, oh, we absolutely need to beat Kansas. It doesn't matter, right? It was like that every year where K-State could have, 10 wins and 1 loss, and they're still playing Kansas, and that's still their Super Bowl. They don't even care about the bowl game because Kansas is their biggest rival. So I don't know how much of a factor that is. I think there is a ring of plausibility to that being definitely a factor, but we'll certainly see. But yeah, it's going to be a big one, October 25th, obviously. K-State at the new booth. Are you looking at this as the biggest game of the year right now?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Unquestionably, yeah. KU's got to win this one. And again, if you do, not that it's an automatic win against Oklahoma State, but you feel good. Oklahoma State's a mess right now. I mean, they just lost to Houston by 22 at home.
Which, by the way,
they're getting blown out every game.
Yeah. But by the way, Clint Bowen has done they're horrible. They're bad.
Yes.
But Clint Bowen, I think, has made their defense better. I think that it's not as bad as it was when Gundy was there this year.
Been a tough season in Stillwater. Tough couple seasons, honestly. They went 0-9 in the Big 12 last year. But yeah, KU, K-State, make sure that you're locked in at KansasNation.com. We're going to have all sorts of coverage of that. And, of course, Late Night the Fog coming up Friday, 6:30 at Allen Fieldhouse, KansasNation.com. Everything you need for coverage on that front. After this, we're going to hear from 3 Jayhawks who unfortunately had to have a sad postgame after the loss on Saturday. But Jalon Daniels, Boden Groen, and Taylor Davis all had really good games. We'll hear from them next. Thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City and watching KansasNation.com.
This is Dale Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Well, rain or shine, win or loss, Jalon Daniels always speaks to the media post-game for KU football. Hawks fell 42-17 to a Texas Tech team who's now ranked number 7 in the country. 4 Big 12 teams in the AP top 25. BYU is 15, and Utah's 23. Cincinnati finally in there at 24 as well, but Tech now officially in the top 7. Here's JD post-game.
How do you think you handled the pressures that their defensive line put on you today?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of knew what type of front 7 that they had. Hats off to Texas Tech and everything they did defensively to be able to create a lot of pressure. But at the end of the day, I think there's still some plays out there that I left out on the field that I think I could do to be able to put our team in a better position.
What are some of those moments that stand out to you?
I mean, one of those sacks, I had somebody wide open, number 1 in my progression, and I tried to move on to try to be able to take a shot. End up taking a sack right there, and that's something I have to do better to be able to put my offensive line in a better position. There's just a lot of little plays out there where I'm holding the ball too long, and I need to be able to get it out, be able to get it down to my check down, and be able to continue to keep going from there.
In the second quarter, you guys really got clicking at 17 unanswered points. What did you feel about clicking for the offense?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just think it's all. I think offensively is more always about just being able to get things started. I think before that, it was kind of hard to be able to get things started overall because we made a few mistakes early in the game. And I think once you get things moving offensively, then, it's kind of a domino effect. Things just start to get rolling.
In the second half, you guys went scoreless. Were they doing anything different out there than the first
I just think that they did a lot of things good. I think with their front seven. I think their front seven, they made a lot of twisting games inside. They made a lot of adjustments as far as defensive alignment, and it just kind of allowed their players to be able to go out there and play full speed.
You're going into another open week after this game. You also lost heading into your last open week. Are there similarities with what you want to address heading into this open week compared to that one, or are they different?
What do you mean by that?
Like the things that you wanted to address in the open week after you lost against Missouri before your next game, are the things that you want to address in this open week similar, or are they different?
I mean, not necessarily things that I just want to address. I think that one thing that we continue to keep doing is no matter what happens, if we're up 30 or down 30, we're going to keep doing what we're doing. So, we're going to come in, like I said, always say, own what's on film, because at the end of the day, if you don't watch film and own what's on film and get better from it, then at the end of the day, you're cheating yourself. So we're going to own what's on film, come in Monday, take another day to be able to get another stride to be able to get better.
Boden with 13 catches, what made him such like a readily available target for you today?
I think that, Texas Tech ran a lot of zone coverage today. I think on film they showed a lot of man coverage, especially in third down situations, but they zoned off a lot today, and it allowed for Boden to be able to get into a lot of different crevices in the defense, be able to sit down and be able to get the ball and be able to get us yards.
That's Jalon Daniels post-game. Dan, 27 of 33, and with those 6 incompletions, a couple of them were dropped, right?
Yeah.
255, 2 touchdowns. He took care of the ball. Obviously, he had the one fumble that ended up being a sack because he fell on it. And, I want to make sure that that KU continues to fall on their fumbles, which they weirdly did 3 times in this one. But JD, with a protection similar to protection he received back in 2020, was still able to put together a really solid performance. And he still is that guy. He's still the most important part of this team. He's going to need to continue to have those types of performances, hopefully with better protection as KU gets even more important games down the line.
Yeah, look, I think it's important to note that Kansas, I believe, up until the Texas Tech game, only gave up 7 sacks on the entire year, right? So Kansas' offensive line has been holding up relatively strong, but they didn't go up against Texas Tech's offensive line in any of those games. Defensive line. Texas Tech's defensive line is arguably, it's top 5 in the nation right now. You have to say that just with the way that they played. But I think the important thing is that JD, with those 9 sacks, didn't get rattled. I mentioned this in the open, did not get rattled. Usually it's very easy for a quarterback to go like, all right, after 4 sacks, they're like, man, I got to start doing something. I got to start forcing stuff. I got to start, getting the ball out quicker. I got to start, running sooner than I think I need to. JD didn't do that. I think that's important to note that he still went 27 of 33 for 255 and 2 touchdowns. It's still a very impressive game. Now, one thing I do want to say about JD is that there's a famous saying that is, ball security is job security. Well, when you're Jalon Daniels, you really, job security isn't even a question. So he gets a little laissez-faire with how he handles the ball sometimes. You see it kind of carrying it like a loaf of bread. I want to see that improve. That's the only facet of Jalon Daniels' game that I want to see improve is his ball security, because we've seen a number of different fumbles this year, and the fumble that happened actually on that Texas Tech one that wound up being a sack, he actually knocked it out of his hand with his own knee, right? It wasn't a forced fumble by anybody. It was Jalon bumping it out just because he had the ball in his hand like this. So the only thing that I want to see improve out of Jalon is his ball security. But again, at the same time, and I don't know if this is discouraging or what, or if it speaks volumes to how much better Texas Tech's defensive line was, but Jalon played a virtually perfect game and you still lost 42-17. That tells you that Jalon has to be better than perfect in order to try to stay in this game.
Well, yeah, he needs some help, right?
And he needs some help.
And
he absolutely needs some help too.
Can't drop any passes. We understand that, it's easier said than done, but KU's going to have to get more. Interested to see, really quick, last thing on Texas Tech, then we're going to hear from Boden Groen, who had a monster day as well. Tech, this upcoming Saturday, they're at Arizona State.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Levitt is week to week. He didn't play, and ASU got rocked by Utah. After that game, Tech's got Oklahoma State at home, at K-State. They get BYU in Lubbock. They get UCF at home, and then they're at West Virginia.
Oh, my.
There's not a loss. There's not a loss on
There's
that
no-
schedule, right?
I don't see a loss on their schedule at all.
I mean, maybe K-State shocks the world as 7 to 10 point underdogs or whatever it'll be. BYU's obviously good. I don't think they're nearly on the same level as Texas Tech, but they're going to win a lot of games.
By the way, weird stat: Texas Tech hasn't given up a single point in the third quarter
That is strange.
of the entire season.
That is
Isn't
strange.
crazy?
And the 17, like we talked about, that KU scored more than any other team on the Red Raiders this season. Boden Groen, 13 catches. Crazy. He's become a top target for Jalon Daniels. Let's hear from KU's new tight end one postgame.
You got tight end Boden Groen. So I have a few questions.
Well, you guys had a good second quarter, but couldn't string a lot together in the other quarters. I guess, how would you describe the offense overall today?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it. It was inconsistent. When we were doing everything right and hitting, and it was looking really good, but we weren't able to maintain that for all of the full 4 quarters. And yeah,
What was it?
What was it that started clicking for you guys in the second quarter?
I think really just settling into the game and getting a feel for how the defense was playing, because it's a really good defense, and you watch film, but you never really know exactly how hard they're going to hit or how fast they're going to play. So I think after those first 2 or so drives, we really settled down and were able to get things working.
Obviously, tough day for you guys overall. But you had 13 catches for 26 yards. What were you doing out there? What do you feel out there?
Yeah, I mean it's a good day on the stat sheet, but I didn't do everything great, and I missed on some blocks. I gave up a pressure. So those things are the things you got to clean up, and I'm sure it's very cliche, but I'd rather have no catches than a win.
Coach Leipold mentioned bringing some of you guys in to try to do some double teams and chips and stuff too. How effective do you think that was overall when you did that more?
It definitely had it slowed them down a little bit. But I mean, really, those dudes weren't worried about contain, and they were just had free reign to dive inside if they wanted to, and that's one of the things where if they're flying into the B gap at the jump, that chip isn't gonna do a whole lot.
What was that sequence like for you, where you had the 3 quick catches and then it sets up a 55-yard field goal for Lake?
Yeah, I mean, that was fun, and Lake just absolutely destroyed that kick. So that was really cool to see. The crowd's jumping, and it's super loud, and he's just poised, and it looked like that thing was going to be good from like 65. So that was a high point, and really awesome to see that ball go through.
Heading into the bye week, how beneficial can that be for you guys, and what can you get out of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's another week of prep, and especially with coming in against a rivalry opponent, you get 7 extra days to watch film and game plan on those guys. So it gives you a chance to get your body back under you, but it also, we're gonna know K-State that much more than we do on a weekly basis.
Boden Groen, kind of out of nowhere, Dan, has become that guy, right?
Yeah.
Shades of Mason Rudolph, or Mason Fairchild, rather. I've done that before. Mason Rudolph, former Oklahoma State legend,
Yeah.
as we were talking about that.
Pittsburgh
Mason
Steelers legend.
Fairchild.
Does he have a dent in his forehead?
Yeah, right. God. Miles Garrett's bestie. Yeah, but anyway, Fairchild was always seen running free down the
Yes.
seam, and we're seeing more of that from Boden Groen. And a lot of that, of course, is credit to Coach Z, but he is that reliable target now for JD.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it last year with Jeff Grimes, and you saw there was one. I at least counted. There might have been 2, but one that I remembered, one tight end seam down the middle where Leighton Keir was wide open. He wound up dropping the ball, so we didn't even have a catch over the seam. Now Jim Zabrowski is scheming this up. By the way, Wisconsin got shut out at home for the first time since
I have that in
1980.
case of the Mondays, man.
You texted me on Saturday.
Grimy.
But yeah, no, Boden Groen has done a great job. And this is something that, look, when he came over from Rice, we said, oh, this is awesome, because now we have another depth piece at the tight end spot. He's a tall guy. He could be used in like fun packages. Hopefully he's a good blocker, but really the stalwart's going to be probably Deshaun Hanukkah, right? And we thought it was going to be Kean Burnett, and then Kean Burnett came to Kansas, then went back to Arizona, which, by the way, did you see that he's in the transfer portal again?
Oh my gosh, no,
So
I didn't. Are you kidding me?
I believe it was Jack Ritter who had a tweet, said he has the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever.
Oh my
to
gosh.
come back to Kansas.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, we thought it was going to be kind of a mixture, and we're like, oh yeah, I mean, Boden Groen might get 10, 15 snaps a game, something like that, and on 12 personnel. All of a sudden, Deshaun Hanika goes down. Boden Groen's your guy, and we heard a lot about him in kind of the the early parts of fall camp of like, hey, Boden Groen is really sticking out. Like we like what we're seeing out of him a lot, and it's really kind of coming to fruition, right? He's doing a good job of taking advantage of a bad situation with Deshaun Hanika and taking advantage of that, and now he has the third most receptions of all time in a game out of any Kansas Jayhawk.
He had that 24-yard touchdown reception, and then you look, his other 12 catches went for just 52 yards, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of how Kansas had to attack the really good Texas Tech defense. Say this about the tight end room, which is true with the running backs as well. Wasn't just the offensive line that struggled in protecting Jalon Daniels. The tight ends and backs need to be better on that front as well. But, Boden Groen catching the football and being a playmaker has been massive for KU. Taylor Davis, his first career interception as he picked off Will Hammond around midfield. Let's hear from TD postgame.
Taylor, a couple games in a row you guys have started slow on defense. What do you think has contributed to that?
We as a whole just got to come out faster. We know that. It's no secret. We've done a really good job of just believing in each other, not turning on each other, so we're really focused on doing that.
What was the mood like in the locker room after this?
We never waver. We're still together. We really implement being a team, so we're our brother's keepers, so we're never going to turn on each other.
What did you think about, obviously, Barron goes out with an injury, their starting quarterback gets hurt, they have to go to Will Hammond. What did you think about the two offenses they have with the different quarterbacks?
Those quarterbacks are both talented. They're both really, really skilled guys, and so us as a defense, we didn't really see a drop-off there. He's really talented, and we just had to make plays.
How'd you guys adapt to the quarterback run game?
Yeah, 15 came in. He's a really good scrambler, so we had to be more attentive on how to keep him in the pocket and how to do that.
What was it like, and not the result you want, what was it like in your first career interception?
Oh, it was a pretty nice experience. I wish we would have won the game. Just looking forward and trying to get better as a team.
What did you see on that play?
Saw the ball. So, yeah.
They put up 300 yards on the ground. What made them so effective at the ground game?
They have a really good O-line, really good offense in general. So, us as a defense, we have to do a better job of just being more physical and things like that.
From your perspective, as one of the guys who's been banged up a little bit in the safety room, what's it been like for you guys as a position group going through that and having a lot of different players contribute?
Our coaches do a really good job of implementing just being ready and the next guy up. They all train us the same way, so we all have the same experience, so nobody flinches when they get out there.
Heading into this bye week, what do you guys want to get out of it?
Just get better. Own what's on film, keep making the small things go away, and just keep building that brotherhood as a team.
That's Taylor Davis. Nice seeing him have some success. A playmaker who has a great career ahead of him still at KU. Quick note, of course, KU's next game is going to be a week from Saturday, the Dillon Sunflower Showdown. Going to be an early kick, 11 a.m. at the reimagined David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium. You can listen to that on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Of course, Crimson and Blue coverage starts at 9:30. So 11 a.m. KU K-State in the Dillon's Sunflower Showdown. Hey, after this, we're going to be joined by Kevin Flaherty from the Kansas City Sports Network. We had an opportunity to chat with him. You'll get all that next here on KansasNation.com. Thanks for listening as well on ESPN Kansas City.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here, KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Very pleased now to be joined by Kevin Flaherty, Kansas City Sports Network. Kevin joins us every Monday on the show. Kevin, great to see you. Let's talk about that game that went down on Saturday. I loved hearing what Nick Springer said in opening your guys' show post-game. Said that was one of the games of all time. I mean, it was a game, right? And a game runs, it was. Tech scores 21. KU gets the next 17. Great second quarter. You're thinking, hey, we're a possession away from winning this thing. And then too much of the Texas Tech defense in the second half. They score the next 21 and ends up looking like a blowout. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I use the analogy with Michael Swain over at Vol, a golf analogy, basically, where you have two people playing around a golf. One guy is routinely hitting the fairways, put up on the greens, and the other guy, he's yanking the ball into the trees. He's hitting some bumps and things like that. Which guy's going to win over 18 holes? It's the guy that's hitting the greens, and who can keep up doing the other stuff. The great golf, right, is you can have a great shot or a really bad shot, but sooner or later comes such a hard way to live. And I think that was the game sort of in a nutshell. Was Texas Tech got out early, Kansas came back, but everything that Kansas did really hard. It felt like it was really difficult. And when Texas Tech is hitting on explosives the way that they were, Tech was just living a little bit easier life. And so it was a game that Kansas had a chance. Obviously, you get the stop in the second half even to get the ball back where you're only down 4 points. But ultimately, when you're not able to ball consistently, when your quarterback is under pressure so many times when he's dropping back to pass, and defensively you're not stopping the run the way that you would like to, it's cumulative, and there was just no way forward through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I thought Jalon played a virtually perfect game aside from all the sacks, right? I mean, you look 27 of 33, 255 through the air, a couple touchdowns, and you're like, man, that's a good game. All of a sudden you look at the score and you go, well, what the hell happened? And so I guess I want to look at the second quarter as a whole, because you felt like Kansas really had a chance to come back. I mean, 17 unanswered points right there. You felt like it was in reach. Just what did you see? Just what were some of the positives, I guess, that you pulled out of this game that otherwise ended up being a blowout?
Yeah, Jalon was unbelievable. To your point, do you win his first inaccurate pass game where he aimed? It's his 27th pass of the night. He was 23 for 26. One throw was out of bounds, throwing it away intentionally, and 2 hit his receivers in the hands. So the first time he threw a football and it didn't land where he was aiming at was his 27th pass of the night. And that one, guys, was tipped at the time. So even then, it wasn't. And the scary thing about it, guys, is he was good and you're still down 4 points. And I think that was the tough thing about the game was had to almost be perfect. And defense is giving up the explosive plays that is in particular. It just takes so much to keep pace. Now, I will say, I've seen that some people say, hey, the game turned when Baron Morton went out. Well, the drive before, Baron Morton was in for the full and they get their points to go up 21. Kansas's offense had one of the better had to have it drives of the season where you go down, you get the touchdown, you make it 21-7, and that's where Will Hammond came in. And so I do think that there was a little bit of, hey, you get some momentum back, you kind of stem the tide, and then Will Hammond started off a little bit cold. Kansas took advantage. Credit. That was a game that I'm looking at, not really seeing a way back. Ultimately, you wind up getting it to 21-17 and get that first stop to start the second half where you've got a chance then to go and take the lead. Ultimately, you wind up in 3rd and 1 and you get a stuffed and you just can't get across the finish line there.
Yeah, there were those 2 third down plays, and I know people like to, break down everything as to reason why we lost, right? Why is my team not winning? All of that. A lot of times the other team is really good, and that was the case for Texas Tech. I mean, KU tried 2 different things on the 3rd and shorts in the third quarter, right? You tried running the ball. People aren't going to like that unless you get it. And then you tried, I believe it was a play action the second, and Daniels gets sacked, and people aren't going to like that if that doesn't work either, right? They tried, but Texas Tech is really good. KU was a little bit better the first portion of this game on 3rd downs, but that continues to be an area that they need to improve. But obviously, the story of this one was 9 sacks from Tech. We knew it would be a challenge. What did you see from either the offensive line, the backs, the tight ends that basically made it so difficult for them to block?
Guys, Pro Football Focus grades aren't everything, obviously, and you can have variations here or there. We talk about that regularly. Calvin Clements had a 0.0 pass blocking grade. Enrique Cruz had a 0.0 pass blocking grade, and it's a tough way to live when both your quarterbacks or both your tackles have the kinds of pass blocking grades. I'll be honest, guys, part of the reason I thought Kansas would cover in this game is Jalon Daniels is so good at avoiding pressure. He was sacked only 10 times all of last year. He was sacked 5 times in the first 6 games this year, so he was on that exact same pace. And we've seen him pressured and basically Houdini his way out of it. There was no way out of it. The pressure that he was dealing with was so substantial coming from different places, coming from different guys, that it was one that I think you almost have to chalk it up to, okay, Texas Tech is capable of pressuring you in a way that nobody else can. You faced other good defensive lines. Shoot, UCF has a good defensive line, good defensive ends. But ultimately in that one, they just got after Jalon repeatedly over and over again, and he wasn't able to escape enough to make things happen. But both tackles really, really struggled in that game, and they weren't the only ones. Obviously, a 0.0 pass blocking grade is kind of indicative of the way that game went. I think the Big 12 put out like most pressures this past week. I think David Bailey number 1 and Romello Height was number 3 in the conference. So being on the same team in the same game and taking pressures from each other, they still do that.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. Kevin Flaherty, KCSN, joins the show down the line. Kevin, I mean, want to talk about at least something that good that came out of this game. Leipold Marjan, 55-yarder. Holy cow, that was incredible.
Yeah.
What's your confidence level in a guy? Because for so long, you felt like, all right, Kansas, they almost always have to go for it on fourth down or punt with short yards because you never have faith in your kicker. Well, now you do have faith in your kicker and Leipold Marjan. Just talk about that guy and how awesome of a kick that was and how great he's been throughout this year.
Yeah, I mean he's been automatic. A couple of them been close, right? But they've ultimately gone through, and I can't remember the last time you felt this comfortable with the Kansas kicker. I don't think ever. And I mean, I'm dating myself going back to like Dan Eichloff making like, a 60-yarder or whatever he did like back in the day. It was kind of funny because we got, Leipold Marjan back fall camp, and we asked him, sort of what's your limit? And he was like, well, I've hit from 57 at practice. I think I could maybe go a little farther, but coach won't let me attempt 58. and when you look at the Jones and hitting that thing from 55, that looked like it took just about everything to get there. But, some kickers get a chance to make long field goals. Some kickers are pretty automatic from shorter end. Marjan, kind of the first guy I can remember at Kansas off the top of my head that really gives you a chance at both. And he's had a terrific season. And I know obviously next week we'll talk a lot more KU K-State, but I think when you look at the special teams on this year's team, that's one reason to be a lot more optimistic about Kansas's chances in that game than maybe what we've seen in previous years.
And talk about another guy who's been able to step up, Boden Groen, 13 receptions. I mean, unbelievable. I believe it's tied for third most all time in a game in a Kansas jersey. Just talk about how much he stepped up after the unfortunate Deshaun Hanukkah injury.
Yeah, shout out Kerry Meyer, right? Having 16 catches in a game, back before, but most catches by a tight end in Kansas football history. And some of that was, hey, you're not getting a whole lot down the field. Texas Tech was very apparently trying to make sure that Kansas does not get explosives. Emmanuel Henderson is not able to get over the top. The other guys are not able to hit him for big plays. And so you kind of saw a little more action in that mid to short range. And the short range stuff was tough, guys, because Texas just never misses tackles. So when you threw short of the sticks, they had a guy there who was going to rally and make the tackle. But he's obviously developed a lot of chemistry with Jalon Daniels, and you can see when Jalon's in trouble, he finds Boden Groen. And I think the other thing was to set up that Leipold Marjan field goal at the end of the half. He hit him, 3 times in a row, right there to kind of set that thing up. And so he has been just a terrific second portal get. And one of the things that we've seen across college football kind of statistically, and actually I think Bill Belichick this today, is you don't find as many success stories in that second portal, right? In the first portal, that's kind of when everybody does their work. You can find some guys there. The second portal, it's a lot tougher to find players that are going to positively affect your team. Enrique Cruz, Saturday aside, has had a pretty good year being one of those guys. Bryce Foster a year ago obviously was a really good second portal addition. Boden Groen, he was a guy that when he came in, you said, okay, he's going to be, second, third tight end, etc. And he's wound up being just fantastic. And quite frankly, guys, that might even be putting himself on that pathway Big 12 honors at the end of this year.
Yeah, man, if he keeps this up, no doubt about that. Nice little option for Jalon Daniels to have, like you said, especially when he's getting in trouble. We'll talk more K-State next week when you join us, Kevin, of course, but just kind of an overall outlook as we put this one behind us. Next two are at home, right? I can do the math on that. If you win both of those, you get 6 wins. And then you have a tough final 3 games, of course, on paper. I don't know that you're going to see a team that's near as good as Texas Tech is, but K-State and Oklahoma State, talk about your confidence level heading in. And I was talking about this earlier. I like that K-State beat TCU. Just kind of a reminder that they're still around. They can still beat good teams. They still have good players, and that'll be a challenge.
K-State was going to show up next Saturday regardless. I mean, in terms of they were going to bring their A game and they were going to play hard, and nobody wants to be known as the team that loses that streak, right? And so whether they were playing well, whatever is going on behind the scenes there, K-State was going to show up. And I think you make a really good point in that didn't want Kansas to take K-State lightly, even a little bit. Even if, the coaches said to him, hey, you can't take this team lightly because they beat you 16 times in a row. There's still that little bit of where you're like, K-State just isn't that good this year. And so for K-State to play a little bit better, to beat TCU the way that they did, and now bye week, I think it was good to recapture Kansas's focus there. I think, guys, that we've talked about so often is the fact that Kansas has been so good coming off of bye weeks, and coming off of a bye week here. K-State under Chris Kleiman not been very good coming off of bye weeks. And so is Kansas able to kind of reset everything after that Texas Tech game, get healthy, get everybody, and then maybe come up with, 3 or 4 things really like going into that K-State week that you can attack? I do think that Kansas has a chance to end the streak. And then with Oklahoma State in town, like you said, 6-3, lot different than 4-3 and where they're at right now. And so it would kind of really change that mental calculus and the way you think about this. That's all still right in front of them.
Yeah. Kevin Flaherty, KCSN Pay Heat Podcast, Verbal Commitment Podcast, joins us here every Monday. Kevin wanted to flip it over to basketball as the AP poll came out today. Kansas is laying at 19, kind of what we expected. Now, granted, for people on the inside, we might feel like that's a little bit too low, but we like the fact that we're underrated. Tell me what you think about the initial AP poll.
Well, I blame Henry personally over at the Journal World, and I hope you guys really put his feet to the fire on not being able to bring more AP voters over to Kansas's side. But in all seriousness, I probably thought it was going to be a little bit higher. I think 12, 15, somewhere in that range. So as long as it's not 1, right? I mean, that's not in the equation. But no, I do think the team, and I think this is a team struggle early because you have new people that are starting to work together, and the schedule is tough. But I also think that this is a team that no one want to see in March. When you look at Darren Peterson, you look at, Flory Badunga taking that second jump, some of the other guys on that roster, I really do think that, you may look right now and say, okay, this is a 19 to 20 type team as it stands right today. But if you're ranking for where they wind up at the end of the season, I don't know that there's 15 teams better than Kansas is heading into March Madness.
And that's kind of what I wanted to ask you with that. Given what this roster looks like right now and how we all think that they're going to improve, they're going to mesh and be a good team, do you think Kansas has a Final Four caliber roster? And I guess what needs to happen aside from DP being who we expect and Flory taking that second step in order for that to happen?
Yeah, obviously, so much of what happens in the NCAA tournament is matchup dependent, right? I think, as good as the 22 team was, that kind of fell to him a little bit to them into the Final Four, and then you wind up taking on Nova without Justin Moore. I still think the way they shot that, I'm not sure the Harlem Globetrotters would beat them. And then you get North Carolina, and North Carolina wasn't the type of team that had typically given them issues that year, when you like the Kentucky team that came into Allen Fieldhouse. So much is matchup dependent. I realize I went off on it there, and I apologize. But I do think when you look just brass tacks, is it going to be good enough to get to a Final Four? Yeah, I think so. going to have the best player in the country, certainly a guy at discussion. You're going to have an NBA caliber center protecting the back line and all of those. I think you've got some really nice pieces around guys. I think you've got some guys with upside, Marco Jackson and Cole Rosario, that as they continue to rise and elevate through the season, Kansas could continue to do so. You have a team that I think has a chance to be pretty elite defensively. It all comes together as well. And when you the NCAA tournament, the pace slows down, right? You don't get as many transition opportunities. You don't get out on the break. And so much about getting stops and being able to grind out. And I think that this is a team that could play that quote unquote meta pretty well once the NCAA tournament tips off.
Yeah, great insight. We're looking forward to Late Night in the Fog, 6:30 on Friday. Give Kevin Flaherty a follow on Twitter at KFlaherty, KCSN. Kevin, looking forward to seeing you this weekend, and then a big one next week, of course, on the gridiron. So we'll see you soon.
Sounds great, guys.
All right. That's Kevin Flaherty joining us here on Rock Chalk Sports. More coming up on ESPN Kansas City and KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Sean Kellerman, Dan Courtwright back with you for Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Dan, was it tough getting out of bed after your weekend-long bender?
No, I didn't have a bender. Thanks for asking.
Saturday night, you and Chuck and Mac.
Yeah, me, Chuck, and Mac, just batching it up, man. Just went to bed afterwards. Like I said, my fiance, she is in Wyoming right now, checking out Jackson's Hole. I don't know who this Jackson guy is, but
it's crazy.
I know, but whatever. She said they're just friends. Anyway,
clearly.
But yeah, no, she's checking out Jackson's Hole. With a friend of hers who lives in North Dakota. So it's just me and the dogs right now. Over this past weekend, I got to pick her up from the airport on Tuesday. But yeah, no, nothing too crazy. I woke up just fine. Sunday was rough, just waking up after that loss. Not fantastic. Just a little disappointed, a little upset. But hey, no accidents from the dogs inside the house. Just an easy, relaxing weekend for old Dan and the boys.
Well, I'm guessing last night was very relaxing for James Franklin, who I can only imagine, Dan, got the news and then went home,
popped a bottle of champagne,
poured a whiskey or something.
You got to.
I mean,
you have to.
This dude is getting how much money from Penn State?
Fired.
For this buyout?
James Franklin fired. By the way, I think I saw something. I don't know how much accuracy this is, but he's the first person to lose 2 back-to-back games where he was 20-point favorites in both of those games. Lost to UCLA as a 20-point favorite, over 20-point favorite, and then Northwestern in Happy Valley.
Yeah. Usually, if you're going to lose as a massive favorite, then
it's on the road.
You ain't going to get favored by that much.
You would think, right? James Franklin kicked to the curb, but it's case the Mondays for Penn State, because I don't think James Franklin is too terribly upset. James Franklin, over the course of the next 6 years, is going to be making $20,000 per day from Penn State to stay away from them. I mean, look, if restraining orders worked this way, then you would be a rich man, right, Sean?
Yeah, exactly.
James Franklin, $20,000 per day from Penn State. I'll break this down for you. $15 per minute, $913 per hour, $21,917 per day, $153,000 per week, $666,000 per month. Also, Drew Aller out for the year. Not great. But Penn State, they're going to be paying James Franklin for a long, long time to stay the hell away. The question a couple questions about this, because Penn State, obviously, they're going to have an interim head coach, and then after the season, they're going to be on a nationwide search for the new head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. First question, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Kurt Signetti? Matt Rule, I hear, is in the running for it. A couple of, Manny Diaz from Duke is in a running, I know. Also, what's going to happen with Andy Kotelnicki is my question, because Andy Kotelnicki, nothing has come out, I believe. I looked into it a little bit. He's still apparently on the staff. what's going to happen to Andy Kotelnicki? Will he be still there? Will he be fired at the end of the season? Are they still working out trying to fire him? What's the deal with that? And was it a mistake to take that Penn State job? I don't think so, because obviously it's a much higher position and he wanted that job. Do they potentially even look at Andy Kotelnicki to be the next head coach? It depends on how well he does in the.
I would
they're
really
probably going to
doubt.
go for a big name, right?
I would doubt that. You'd think they got to go for a big name, and obviously,
And don't
Coach
hire from
K, as they
within.
called him, doesn't have head coaching experience
True.
at this level. Plus, people are mad at the whole coaching staff.
That's very true.
Right. So I think that would be a shocker indeed. But let's use that as kind of a segue,
Okay.
because in 2023, Andy Kotelnicki was KU's offensive coordinator.
Correct.
We loved him. KU put up all sorts of numbers, and he was great at the time he was here, and obviously was with Coach Leipold for a long time in his career before going to Happy Valley, which is not so happy right now.
Just the Valley.
KU then went with Jeff Grimes as offensive coordinator in 2024 after Kotelnicki went to Penn State.
Oh, I remember.
Grimy. Having a case of the Mondays.
Womp womp.
Wisconsin is one of the worst teams in Power 4 football, Dan.
Yes.
They're 2-4, 0-3 in Big Ten play. They just lost to Iowa 37-0. Nothing. They didn't score at all. What's worse for Wisconsin, who continues to not have any offense,
Mhm.
their upcoming schedule: Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, Indiana, Illinois. That's
Yeah.
who they've got.
That's not a great stretch.
That is who they've got, and they just lost 37-0 to Iowa.
Do you know what's more alarming than this? Which obviously scoring 0, which, by the way, this is the first time that Wisconsin has been shut out at home since 1980.
People are not happy on Twitter with our former.
Oh God, no. I can't imagine
he
they are.
He got a good payday to go up to Wisconsin.
Making $800,000 a year. He's living life right now. The more concerning thing, I think, is on the defensive side of the ball for Wisconsin, because how the hell does Iowa?
Okay, but that's
It's
not more.
Iowa.
That's not more concerning.
It's
I mean, you score 0.
I've never in my life, I can't remember one time where Iowa scored over 30 points. They are not known for scoring. They're not known for putting up numbers like that. 37 points?
This is how bad
that's horrible.
It's gotten for Grimy. Opening week, Wisconsin won. They beat Miami of Ohio 17-0. They scored 17. Then, by
That's a
far
max,
their best game of the year against Middle Tennessee, 42-10. They're feeling good. They're 2-0 after 2 weeks. They get crushed by Alabama, score 14. They lose 27-10 at home against Maryland. 10 is what they scored. They lose to Michigan 24-10. And then they lose to Iowa 37-0. I'm sorry, but I don't know of any offensive coordinator who, just based on scores like that, is going to have a fantastic.
Yeah,
And
they're
then
like
you still have
Iowa from
Ohio
last year,
State,
except for they
Oregon.
have
You have
worse
3
defense.
top 10 teams still on your schedule. You might beat Minnesota in the last game, but it's looking like you ain't going to win another game. You're certainly not going to win another game, Dan, if you score 0.
0. That's right. Yeah, you need to be able to put some points up.
At least 1. I mean, you got to score 1 point.
I haven't watched
you wanna
any of
win.
Wisconsin's games, by the way, this year. I can't imagine they're fun to watch, right?
Are they the new Iowa?
That's what I said. They're like Iowa from last year, except they have a worse defense. So they're just not putting up points, and then they're letting everybody else score on them, which is like, that's worst case scenario. You cannot, if you're Wisconsin. Thank you for taking Jeff Grimes. I'm sorry. And look, here's the thing. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Maybe he was a little abrasive sometimes in press conferences. Good guy, right? Thank you.
You're talking yourself into it.
No, I'm saying thank you to Wisconsin for allowing us to go forward with Jim Zabrowski. I'm glad that he got a job somewhere else. I didn't want Jeff Grimes just out on the street, you know? I wanted him to land another job, but I mean, you got to think. After this, is he going to be out on the street? Is he going to be kicked to the curb? He might find an analyst job somewhere. I think he knows ball, but boy, oh boy, is that ugly. ugly, ugly, ugly. Grimy. Not good. Hey, Case of the Mondays for the nice people of London and Justin Fields believers. Sean.
That's
Sean.
tough.
The
That's tough.
Jets, the New York Football Jets, played overseas in the breakfast game, appetizer game. I'll throw you a bone here because you're already having a rough time. They had the worst game in Jets history in terms of net yards through the air. And it was the worst game by any team in 27 years. Do you know how many net yards they had? Let me give you a hint.
It's 104.
Less than 0.
Oh my God.
They had negative 10
How?
net yards.
Oh,
net
that's
yards.
awful.
Net yards.
Oh, that's so bad.
Negative 10 net yards. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, Justin Fields did wind up, what do you have, like 42, 45 yards through the air?
45, yeah.
Technically?
Yeah. It's coaching. It's coaching.
Here's the by the way, I'm sorry to the people of London. This is not a good example of we don't want to set this precedent of bad football. We have better football here in the States. I'm sorry that you had to witness Justin Fields and the New York Football Jets in your country. That's
Justin
not,
Fields.
It's not. It doesn't look good on us Americans to send the Jets over to London and have them play the way that they did. The question for Sean: are you still in on Justin Fields?
I'm in on Justin Fields.
Do
I
you
am.
still
I am.
think that
He
he's a
needs
better
to be
quarterback than Trevor Lawrence?
He needs to be put in a better situation.
Oh my God. He's had.
I will say this though. Aaron Glenn, obviously, case of the Mondays for him. I mean, they're 0-6, so he's had 6 straight cases of the Mondays.
When do they? I mean, when do they kick?
Well, that's
into
what I'm going to say. Right now, I'm gonna go through their next 3 games.
Okay.
And I want you to give me an answer. Don't be emotional. Don't say, "Oh yeah, well, you got to fire him definitely after that." They're 0-6. He's not getting fired this week, right?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
A week from today, the Jets just lost at home to the Panthers. Is he fired?
Panthers just beat the Cowboys.
So are you saying no?
This is the first time, I believe, in like 1,200 days that the Panthers are 500.
Good for them.
I know.
Your boy, Bryce Young.
They're not like the they're not the Panthers of old. They're okay. Rico Dowdle looks good.
Okay, so anyway, they're 0-7.
Okay. After losing at home to the Panthers.
After losing at home to the Panthers.
This is all hypothetical, by the way.
Does Aaron Glenn still have a job a week from today?
I'm going to say yes because I don't think anybody's going to be watching that game.
Okay.
Even the owner of the New York Jets. Okay. I don't think he'll be watching that game because it'll be so disgusting.
2 weeks from today, the Jets are now 0-8. Okay. They just lost at home to the Panthers, and then they went out to Cincinnati and lost to the Bengals. So they're sitting at 0-8.
Are the Bengals still being led by Joe Flacco?
Same Bengals rosters right now. They're 0-8. 2 weeks from today, just lost to the Panthers and the Bengals. Does Aaron Glenn still have a job?
I'm not. Look, here's the thing. I don't like it when first-year head coaches get fired in their first year.
So you're saying yes.
So I'm saying he still has a job.
Okay. All right.
Now, is Woody Johnson a smart owner? No. Does he know football? No. Does he make the best business decisions? Also, no.
3 weeks from today, which is actually 4 weeks from today because they have a bye week.
Sure.
The Jets lose at home to the Browns. So you're 0-9 now, and you just lost to the Panthers, the Bengals, and the Browns consecutively. 0-9, 4 weeks from today. Does Aaron Glenn still have a job?
And I don't. Oh my gosh, you're gonna put me in a pickle here. Because I do not like.
That's fine.
I do not like firing first-year head coaches in their first year, but also that stretch. I mean, if you lose those 3 games, you have to. No.
So you're calling it?
No,
there.
I'm gonna. Yeah, you have to.
At 0-9.
I think if you lose to the Browns after losing at home to the Panthers and then on the road to Cincinnati, if you lose to the Browns, remind me.
It's a good exercise.
Browns is in the Meadowlands.
Yeah, it's Panthers at home, at Bengals, Browns at home.
You have to.
Okay.
You absolutely have to fire.
Good exercise.
Which that sucks because he is a good defensive coordinator. Now, could he potentially get fired there and then go find another job and become the next Steve Spagnuolo, but on a lesser level? I don't think he's going to be a future Hall of Fame assistant coach, but I still think he's a very good defensive coordinator. He'll find another job. He'll be fine. maybe just some of those guys just aren't cut out to
They
be head
fired
coaches.
Robert Saleh when they were like 2-3 or something. The Jets did last
Yeah,
year too. So
that's true.
so we'll
That's
see.
but that, I
Anyway,
don't know.
we'll see.
I don't know. I think that the New York Jets are so tired of just the revolving door of coaches and quarterbacks and coordinators that I think that maybe they'll give Aaron Glenn a little bit of a longer leash.
Must
And
be
I think-
nice facing teams like the Dolphins and the Patriots twice, and then you
You'd
get
think.
I mean, the Patriots are solid, but then you
Yeah.
face the Bengals and the Browns and the Panthers, and I mean, just a terrible schedule. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
the Chiefs have a wagon because they win every year.
Yeah.
Tony Richardson's on here, not former Chiefs legend.
No, so Anthony Richardson. No, not that Tony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, was downgraded to third string quarterback during warmups, and everyone's thinking, "What the hell is going on?" Right? Daniel Jones obviously has the starting spot, but they bumped up Riley Leonard to the second string, and they moved Anthony Richardson down to third string. They're like, "Oh, what happened? That's weird. That happened in warmups." Apparently, during pregame warmups, he had one of those elastic bands,
Band work.
doing the band stretching, right? Or is that calisthenics? I don't know.
Probably
Whatever
some form of it.
Whatever it is, he was doing some stretching. The band came off of his foot, snapped up, hit him in the face. He broke the orbital bone.
Oh my
on his
God! I didn't
eye.
realize it was that bad.
He broke it. What?
That's an embarrassing way to break a bone.
How embarrassing is that to be stretching with a band that snaps up and it hits you in the
So
face?
so what's the deal about Anthony? Like, is he just bad?
I think
because
I think he's either really good or really bad, and 75% of the time he's really bad. 25% of the time he's really good.
yeah, I mean, he was a hot commodity there for a while.
He might have the strong, aside from like Joe Milton, he might have the strongest arm in the NFL. But like also like Joe Milton is not a good quarterback. Like a strong arm, and if that's any indication, having a strong arm doesn't make you a good quarterback. But he's got a hell of an arm, right? That guy can float one 75 yards down the field like it's nothing into triple coverage, and it gets intercepted.
Right.
So it's like when you look at that, you go, okay, well, yeah, that's not exactly ideal. Now, granted, Anthony Richardson does not have the amount of snaps needed to become a good NFL quarterback. I think that he was thrown to the wolves too early, didn't have the experience needed. Kind of like I'll compare him to Trey Lance, right? Trey Lance, I think he only had like 100 some odd snaps in his career, or maybe it was like 300 some odd snaps in his career heading into his NFL debut. It's like, of course, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just doesn't have the in-game experience needed to be that. Let him sit under Daniel Jones for a year. Maybe Anthony Richardson will start to figure it out as he continues to practice more. But also, it's like, man, you gotta figure it out. Like, he is just too wild with the football. He likes to take those deep shots, which is fun, and it's also fun for the secondary because they get a lot of interceptions off of him. Very embarrassing way to do it. Also, Charvarius Ward had a weird. He got a concussion in the same game, separate incident. During pregame warmups.
Yeah.
It's just
That's
like
crazy.
it's very, very interesting.
Going too hard in warmups,
I guess
fellas.
so, man. Case of the Mondays for honorable people. We have a video for this. Elijah
This
did
confused
the
me.
Kirby
Yeah.
Smart video. Okay, so I'll cue you up for it. So Kirby Smart, Georgia was playing Auburn. One of the better rivalries that continuously gets forgotten about, Auburn, Georgia. Georgia was up 13-10, 13:06 left to go in the fourth quarter. Kirby Smart running down the sideline. Auburn has the ball. Kirby Smart's running down the sideline, calling timeout, saying timeout. They call a timeout. All of a sudden, they give him the timeout because the time has gone down on the clock. Auburn would have gotten a delay of game. Kirby Smart goes to the official and says, No, that's not true. I was clapping. Can we play the video? Let's go ahead and play the video. It's one of the more unbelievable things that I've ever seen. So, as you can see there, Kirby Smart was running to the official, calling the timeout.
Whoa. Are you assuming this means timeout?
I am going to assume that this means timeout.
You're assuming that he's trying to call a timeout?
And then you saw afterwards, he said, no, Mr. Official, no, I was clapping. I was clapping like this. He got away with it.
What's funny is there is no scenario, even if he were clapping, which obviously he wasn't. He was trying to call a timeout.
Yeah.
There's no scenario where a coach ever is running up and down the sideline, clapping,
sprinting,
just clapping. You see it all the time when they're trying to call a timeout.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Sprinting to
bummer
the referee,
there for
doing
Auburn.
this, calling timeout. No, I was clapping. They gave Auburn the delay of game. They moved him back. Georgia wound up winning this game 20-10. Didn't really matter at the end, but still. Kirby Smart, you dishonorable man. You cheating son of a gun. Come on to you, Kirby.
Georgia wins 20-10.
Yeah, I hate that. I absolutely hate that. But also, if you were in that situation, would you also? I mean, I probably would try to get away with it. But then, like, they'd be like, no. I'd be like, all right, fine. Kirby, he kept on him. Like, no, I was clapping. I swear. That is not a good look. Case of the Mondays for Illinois fans. I thought this was funny. I also have a picture for this.
This is so bad.
So they have this is the Will Howard one. So Ohio State, Illinois. I believe game day was there, correct? Or no, game day was not there, but I believe it was Big Noon Kickoff was at Ohio State, Illinois. Wisconsin fans, you know how they always make signs and they hold them up. They made a sign that said, Will Howard, more like, Will, how are you the quarterback? Because you suck so bad, we all hate you and we want you to lose. And you don't even deserve to win. And we've won the game a couple of times against you guys. And you guys should honestly just forfeit. And what rhymes with Howard, coward, and more like, but I know Santa said you're on the naughty list and Illinois is on the nice list. And by the way, I heard you smell bad and Illinois is going to sack you. So watch your back. And it goes on, etc.
You can't stop there. You have two more lines to go. You got through the first 12.
So watch your back and stick to T-ball, which I bet you were also bad at, by the way. And just so you know, Luke Altmaier is better than you. Okay? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Who wants to tell him?
Where do we begin?
Good sign. A little wordy. Also,
I mean, it's a good sign. I can get on board with it.
Will Howard is not the quarterback.
Will Howard is a quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
He was drafted. He plays in the NFL. You spent all this time thinking of rhymes for Will Howard, thinking of bad puns, saying he's on the naughty list. Will Howard is not the quarterback. One quick Google search.
They could have gotten something decent for Julian Sand, too.
Easily.
They could have.
Like
there's a lot of options.
Are you saying that
good job,
you're
man. God, you're
Thank
good at
you.
this.
I know, right?
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Nice work.
It would have been way easier.
Yeah.
Way easier.
Great
But
sign.
instead,
A little wordy.
A little wordy, like you know. Just do a look. And before you put in all that effort, I appreciate the effort that was put in. A for effort. F for research. Will Howard is no longer the quarterback at Ohio State. I thought this was like
he also
very well known. I mean, they're in your conference.
Also,
it's also week 6
when he was
7.
Their quarterback, they won the national championship. So
also
there's that factor as well.
Yes,
but yeah,
that's
tough. Not a lot of research done on that front. But oh my God, as rough of a look as that was for Illinois fans, how about Oklahoma State fans, man?
Oh, I loved it.
Having to cheer for one of the worst programs in FBS, honestly, the past year and a half, they were out and they were just having a great time.
They absolutely were. We have a video. Is the video working for it? So we have a video. So Case of the Mondays for anybody who wasn't at the Oklahoma State game on Saturday, because you completely missed out on the coolest collection of just guys being dudes ever. Just the most like dudes rock video of all time. Can we play the video, Elijah?
Guys being dudes.
Guys being
Guys
dudes,
being
man.
dudes.
That is that's one of my favorite videos I think I've ever seen.
Starts
in
with
my life.
one guy.
One guy with a dream and a t-shirt that's able to come off. He ripped it off, just starts flinging it around. That's for the love of the game. All of a sudden, one guy sees him. He goes, he looks lonely. So now there's 2 guys doing it. And then all of a sudden, there's 8 guys doing it. Next thing you know, I mean, I don't know. What
200-300 people there?
200-300 easily of just guys being dudes, tarps off, flinging them around. What a fantastic time that looks like. I wish I was there. If I would have been in the press box, I would have thought about like.
Would have crossed your mind.
Yeah, it would have crossed my mind. Like, I can go down there and take off my shirt and start flinging it around.
Oklahoma State loses by 22, despite the valiant efforts of the fans.
But it doesn't matter. You know why? It doesn't matter because the fans are having a good time. And this is a public service announcement once again to Kansas fans, students in particular. Stay for the game. Have some fun. Don't leave at halftime. Do this stuff. That's what's fun about college athletics.
One more case of the Mondays. This one really bothered me because it's not how my mind works. And I didn't realize this was a thing either until I saw it on Twitter. Texas A&M's field, which holds upwards of 100,000 people, Kyle Field.
Yeah.
It's not symmetrical.
No. One of the greater architectural feats, I would say. Have
people noticed this before? This is bothering me.
I don't know if this has ever been noticed before, but we do have a picture of it. I don't know. It's so I believe this is a Texas Tech account tweeted this out and said, "Hey, I don't know if anybody's ever noticed this before. It's off center. It's not even just like a little bit, like Tom Cruise's teeth. So this is a lot,
and that's what I don't get. So you have to adjust. What all needs to be adjusted? Obviously, the home of the 12th man needs to be centered.
Yeah,
and then
so there's the
bottom
3,
portion,
4, 5, 6, 7.
Well, and that's the thing. Even the home of the 12th man sign isn't lined up with the Texas A&M sign at the bottom.
No,
and none of it's lined up with the midfield logo. That's bad.
Yeah,
drives me nuts.
So there's 9 sections. 5 of them are on one half and 4 of them are on the other. Like the line goes directly down one of the stairways. It should be going directly down the section. It's one of the this bothers the hell out of me. I hate this so much. And it's like, do you think that somebody like the architecture, whoever the main architect was, like looks at it and goes like, hopefully no one notices.
Yeah, right. It must have been.
You gotta imagine, right? Like just be like, look, like we just gotta cross our fingers and hope nobody says anything.
No, that would bother me. I'm upset that I know this now, but anyway,
horrible.
Texas A&M still undefeated, by the way.
As
they took care of Florida at home as their top 5 team. The Aggies enjoying that home cooking. After this, we're going to hear from Lance Leipold. KU fell on Saturday to Texas Tech, 42-17, and we'll get Coach's postgame after this. Thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City and watching KansasNation.com.
Hey, this is Cole Ballard, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Welcome back to Rock Chalk Sports here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City. Hey, go to KansasNation.com. We have updated videos of everything you need, everything you want regarding your Kansas Jayhawks. Haney and the Hawks, the special guest Jared Casey is up there. The Jayhawker podcast with Nate Bukaty and Lance Leipold. Plus, we're going to have all sorts of other shows. Greg Gurley and Mick Schaefer have a show. Brandon McAnderson and Chris Harris, Legends of Kansas, will have a new one coming up here very shortly on that front as well. KansasNation.com, everything you need for KU coverage.
Also, shout out to Miles Schneider at Crown Automotive. Get your new car at Crown Automotive. They have the best salespeople there. They'll make you feel super comfortable. Plus, they have the best cars too. I mean, I told you about those electric VW buses that I absolutely love. I live right by Crown Automotive, and I drive by there a lot. And every time I go, man, I just want to get into that VW Bug because it's got the classic feel, but then it's also, it's a new electric vehicle. It looks so much fun. It looks like so much fun. So check out Crown Automotive for all of your car needs. They also have a service center there too. So great people over there at Crown Automotive. Also good wine by Miles Schneider.
Really appreciate their partnership here with Crown Automotive and Kansas Nation. Lance Leipold post-game, KU's loss at Texas Tech.
Yeah, Lance, what do you make of it? Tough day for your offensive line
a really talented defensive front. You know, they're really good defense, and we had troubles protecting all day long. And they've got some pretty highly touted players there, and you can see why. And you know, we struggled. There was no doubt, unfortunately.
What can they learn from?
Well, again, you got to trust technique at times. Fun, you know, there's ways we're getting beat. You know, we tried to help at certain times with chipping and things. There's a lot of things we got to look at. You know, from you know, the player technique-wise, but also schematically, what else we're calling, what else we can do to try to do it. I mean, you know, we went to some short passing game stuff, but they're just really short gains, and we got to do more and be able to get the ball down the field more.
Lance, they were penalized a couple of times for objects.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel like that was handled?
Very poorly. Our conference office and Scott Draper and them were very poor at handling it. They said one of the officials almost got hit and tried to throw a flag, and it got picked up, so that was disappointing. We have a policy put in that wasn't followed through, so I was very disappointed on how that was. It's obviously they have a great crowd. They really get into it and do some things, but I know the officials were just as frustrated after the one penalty was picked up by whatever they call the rock, wherever that is, where it sits. I mean, say what it is. I mean, a pocket knife was thrown out and hit one of our staff members. So, I mean, and I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's supposed to be for safety and things like that, and it's a culture that's been accepted to a point, and it hasn't changed, and eventually somebody's going to be seriously hurt, unfortunately.
When did that happen during the game?
In the third quarter.
That's obviously, you know, the offense match was. Jalon, I think, did a really good job processing through plays and executing those. What did you think his day was?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What did you think of Jalon's day?
You know, it was tough. I mean, he battled. You know, again, I think there were some throws probably or some sacks that we wish he would have just got rid of it sooner. He's trying to extend plays and battle for his team. I thought he was highly competitive again for us. I think statistically it shows up as a decent day. But again, we just didn't sustain enough consistent drives to get us where we needed to be.
The quarterback run game that they implemented with the backup quarterback, how much of an impact did that have in the third quarter?
Well, we knew they'd shown that before when he played, I think against Houston and a few of the other games that he's appeared in their blowout wins, is that they get in and they use him as a runner and he does a good job. So we were. It didn't catch us by surprise. I guess that's what you're saying. You know, obviously I wish sometimes we'd have defended it better, but we knew that would be part of their plan when he was in the game.
You guys got Daniel Highshot back today.
Yep.
Was he on any sort of a snap count, or is he full go?
You know, right now, he practiced some, but he didn't practice a lot. And our initial thoughts going into it was that he was going to play a little bit more on third downs in certain situations. And then LaShawn kind of tweaked an ankle, so he got a little more time, and he was feeling good. So, you know, I just hope, you know, when he's back in the building, you know, tomorrow and Monday, that he's feeling good again, that we can kind of have him at a, you know, without limitations. But again, we wanted to be careful with him coming back. He worked extremely hard to get himself there, and I thought it's, you know, gave us a little spark there at times. Had the big run right before the 2-minute, right before the field, that kind of got us started and start that drive for the long field goal.
The 2 3rd and 1s where you guys didn't convert in the third quarter, how much of an impact did that have, just not being able to continue the momentum?
Yeah, you know, they were huge because we're still in the game at that point. If we're able to do that, and defense is still battling, and we're doing that, and yeah, I mean, you wish you could sustain, and at that time there was something that was always seemed to shoot ourselves, and we're just not out there enough that we could go for it on fourth and all those things. So very disappointing, frustrating.
Texas Tech, I think, put 300 yards per route. What did you see from the rush attack and you guys against them?
Yeah, again, you know, I mean, when you go 70 the first play of the game, you're going to have a chance to have a really good, and then have another 55-yarder. So, I mean, you got 120 right there. So, again, we knew they were a talented running football, just a talented football team, you know, and both backs and things are very complementary. You add a quarterback run game in there. All the things were going to be challenging for us. So I don't, again, anything in this, I don't want to take away from what they've done and the type of team that they truly are. They showed they're a top 10 team in the country and deservedly so. But again, we've got to be better playing the run more consistently. Getting more people around the ball, getting off blocks, doing those things. But again, playing good teams, that makes it even more challenging.
You guys have done those quick kicks a few times, and usually they've worked out pretty well. What made that a good situation?
Well, we got sacked again, and we were in a position to go for it, and it was like, okay, if you're really going to just, we're at the 40, and it's 4th and whatever, it was quite a bit, and we're kind of in no man's land of you know, again, struggling to protect, to get the ball thrown downfield to try to make something happen there. And so just tried, I was thinking if nothing else, we'll try to pin them inside the 5, hopefully, and get something to happen that we could try to then hold them and flip the field position back to us.
Just real quick, heading into the bye week, what do you want to get out of the days ahead, and how rejuvenating, I guess, can it be for you?
Again, well, mentally and physically, you know, it takes its toll on our guys. And again, they're in the building a long time, working hard. We've got some guys that are again banged up, and I'm sure it'll be again tomorrow. So we've got to be smart. Again, you know, getting ready for K-State. We understand what that's about and those things. So the balance of getting things taken care of, but mentally and physically getting our team in a good position to prepare for that game.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That's Lance Leipold after KU's loss on Saturday. Interesting, Dan, of course, there were instances of tortillas being thrown, and, you know, the Big 12 recently had said, okay, we'll allow that for the opening kickoff, right, because it's tradition, but after that, you're going to get penalized. And 2 different occasions, Texas Tech was penalized, and they're not small penalties. So interesting that the fans would continue to do that. We'll see if that gets squashed sometime in the future, but obviously Coach Leipold upset as he said a pocket knife was thrown toward the KU sideline.
Yeah, look, so first about the tortillas, there probably is a better way to handle it in terms of the way the referees did it, because if you do that in such a large, you know, crowd, you're only going to make them more upset, and you're only going to make them want to throw things more. That's kind of like a hive mind of college football fans, right? I don't think you should be able to throw things at all, ever, on football fields, just because in terms of safety, I understand it's a tradition thing, and, you know, they always throw the tortillas and whatever, but the administration needs to do a better job. Now, Joey McGuire can't really do anything about it, right? The people sitting there can't really do anything about it. It's obviously a new rule, and it'll take some getting used to, but also, when you're throwing things other than, because like tortillas are just tortillas, right? That's kind of whatever. When you start adding in different things, whether it be beer cans or, you know, bottles, or like Lance Leipold said, pocket knives, that's where things get a little dangerous for players, right? So you have to think about player safety first. I don't think you should ever be able to throw things, right? We talked about this last year on our old show about, I believe it was Texas or somebody. They were throwing things onto the field, and it was just absolutely horrible. They're throwing beers and bottles and different kinds of things like that. And it's like, you have to look out for player safety, right? And there has to be some kind of punishment. Now, how can you punish, you know, 5,000 people if they're all doing it, or I mean, even to the point of, like, you know, however many people Jones AT&T Field holds, it's really hard to have to punish that. So it has to be addressed beforehand in a much better way, I think. Now, like I said, with the pocket knives, like, obviously the security needs to do a better job of making sure that those things, A, don't get into the stadium, and B, don't get thrown, right? And that's just a couple of bad eggs in there, but also at the same time, you have to be able to stop that. That is unacceptable in anywhere. You can't be throwing pocket knives at people, because you have to be worried about the safety of the people who are actually out there on the field. It's a game. It's a fun game. It's not that serious. Don't throw pocket knives. If you want to throw tortillas in the opening kickoff, fine. That's a traditional thing. Whatever. But also, it needs to be reduced to a minimum.
Couple Monday Night Football games tonight. We're going to give game picks coming up next on Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for listening on ESPN Kansas City and watching KansasNation.com.
This is Daniel Highshaw, and you're watching KansasNation.com.
Gonna have all sorts of coverage this week on Rock Chalk Sports, KU football, KU basketball. Also, some other things we want to get to as well. So make sure you're locked in 4 to 6 every day here on KansasNation.com. We got to talk Chiefs. A crucial win last night. 3-3 now are the Chiefs. A nice victory over the Lions. Brian Branch, I know you've got some strong thoughts on that we'll give on tomorrow's show when we do a deeper dive on the Chiefs and the Lions. Plus, we'll recap the week that was in college football as well. Indiana, all of a sudden, they're a football school.
They're good.
Guess. They're a football school. They were 1-72 all time against top 5 opponents until they knocked off Oregon in Eugene. We got MLB postseason, ALCS and NLCS. Mariners lead the Jays 1-0 as Cal Raleigh had a crucial homer in Canada last night. And
the
game
dump
one,
squatch?
Game 1 is today in the National League with Milwaukee and the Dodgers. So we'll talk about that and give you everything you need to know on that front as well. Plus, AP Top 25 men's basketball. Going to have a big segment on that tomorrow. That came out. KU checks in at number 19. We will give our thoughts on that. Andy Katz had a power 37 that I want to touch on as well. We've talked about Rothstein's. So very interesting stuff. A lot of basketball coverage in advance of Late Night the Fog Friday at 6:30. But Dan, let's talk Monday Night Football game picks. A couple games tonight. Take us through the opener.
Yeah, so the first game is going to be kicking off at 6:15 tonight. Buffalo Bills taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Bills, it's going to be in Atlanta. Bills right now, they're a 4.5-point favorite. Over-under is 49.5. Bills are coming off of a bad loss against the New England Patriots. Also, but Drake May looks good. I think the Bills have a chip on their shoulder, and I think they're going to come in here and just absolutely clean the floor with the Atlanta Falcons. Now, that's nothing against, Michael Penix and Drake London. I think they're both really good players. I think this game is going to hit the over. I'm very confident in that just because I think there's going to be a lot of offensive firepower between the two. So I like the over 49.5. Bills are going to take care of this one handily. I like James Cook over 2 touchdowns.
I'm actually going to parlay anytime touchdown scores. Bijan at -170, James Cook at -160.
Okay.
Feels like relatively safe. You get plus money on that. Parlays always work out, right? So there's no. I can't imagine any scenario
single time
where that doesn't hurt. I also, in my gut, feel like the Bills cover this number at -4.5. The over is tasty as well, 49.5. And then we got the football team in our nation's capital hosting the Chicago Football Bears.
So, do you remember what happened last time that the football team played against the Chicago Bears? Hail Mary, Jalon Daniels to, was it De'Ami Brown or was it Noah Brown?
I think it was Noah Brown.
Noah Brown catches an
former
absolutely
Cowboy
insane touchdown. I think the Chicago Bears remember that. Now, granted, different coaching staff. It's Ben Johnson. It's not Matt Eberflus anymore, but I think Caleb Williams remembers that. I like the Bears here to cover. I think I like them to win as well at +205. I don't know why. Jalon Daniels, he's still a little nicked up. He's going to be playing, but still, who knows how close he is to 100%. I like the Bears here, man. I think Rome Odunze is going to go off.
I have some concerns.
Rome Odunze over on his yards and anytime touchdown for Rome Odunze. What's the odds on that touchdown score for Rome Odunze? Let's see. It is +145. I like those odds.
Give me Bill Krosky Merritt, 90+ total yards at +100. I don't know what to do with the line. I'll have to wait and see. Hey, that's going to do it for Rock Chalk Sports today. Appreciate you tuning in. Again, we've got AP Top 25 talk. We've got Chiefs talk. Everything you need to know. Of course, a bye week for KU football, but we're still going to be talking plenty of football with our guests the rest of this week on Rock Chalk Sports. Thanks for listening. For Elijah Schmidt running the operations and Dan Courtwright, Sean Kellerman saying we'll catch you tomorrow from 4 to 6 right here on KansasNation.com and ESPN Kansas City.